You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a trunk, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, light some bottles, impress them girls. It's more than life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast and Who Dat. And let's just get into the only good thing that I have to talk about, and that's this beard. And okay, let's just that's enough about that. So let's get into a lot of the bad. So can I get a menu? And so I actually felt good about this game at first going into it. I felt good about it. I felt better about this game when originally going into it. I felt better about it than the Falcons game last week until I saw the Jay Glazer report. And it first said about Alvin Kamara, how he had like some fractured rib cartilage like Justin Herbert. And I was like, oh, okay. And that was just like my previous podcast saying like, oh, are we going to hear that, oh, Alvin Kamara just has a little rib injury, and then we're going to hear he's like Drew Brees. Oh, it's just a rib injury. He's going to be able to play next week. It's nothing. And then we're going to hear, oh, he's got a broken rib. Then he's got 2 broken ribs. Then he's got 4, 5, 12. He's got a collapsed lung. And then that's what it looks like. Now it's not just a rib injury. Now it's not just a bruised rib. He's got broken fractured rib cartilage. That's exactly what it was. And then they said he's going to be playing, and now then he misses the game. And then it wasn't just that. Next thing you know, we hear this comes out of nowhere right before the game. Hell, Jameis Winston's got a broken freaking back, L1 to L4 fractured vertebrae. Like, yeah, my confidence level for the game went from up here all the way down here. So like, I felt good about the game until I heard that from Jay Glazer. Like, where were those reports? Like Nick Underhill, where were you on that stuff? Like Nick Underhill is supposed to be like the #1 Saints reporter. He missed out on that. I love Nick Underhill. He's probably the best guy to follow for like breaking news Saints stuff. But Jay Glazer bunny hopped his ass when it came for that stuff, because I had no idea that they were dealing with such serious injuries leading up to the game on that stuff. But yeah, that just my heart sunk when I heard they were dealing with such serious injuries. But anyways, so the game started, and man, they looked amazing. They just marched right down the field, and you know, it sucked. They ended up having to just settle for 3 points, but hell yeah, that 3 points, hell, it looked like with just the 3 points, it looked like they were just gonna go on and shut them out and win by 3 points again. But honestly, it was the missed opportunities, and people want to talk about all the bad calls and stuff, but hell, the Saints had a bunch of bad calls early on in the game that they didn't take advantage of, like the unnecessary roughness play early on in the game where Jameis got sacked and he got strip sacked, and unnecessary roughness when he was kneed, and his knee was already down and got hit helmet to helmet and actually got strip sacked, and that put them close to midfield almost, and they didn't score off of that. they didn't take advantage of being able to score off of that. And then the next one that they didn't take advantage of was the one when Olave got set down and then got hit in the head, and they didn't take advantage of that. They had a lot of chances early on to take the lead and extend the lead. And then another one that annoyed me big time is Deontay Harris. They punted and he got like looked like they were going to get the ball around the 40-yard line, and how he goes like backwards about 10 yards on his return. And even with that good field goal, they still had good field position, and still they didn't get nothing out of that. Like before the bad calls started raining down on them, like up until that point, I think the Bucks had two penalties called on them, and the Saints only had 0 on them. And still, up until that point, they still only had 3 points. So the Saints had a lot of missed opportunities that they just didn't had chances to extend their lead. That's what drove me crazy about this game. And this is one of those games that just eats me alive because they should have won. They should have won. This is the kind of game that just makes it hard for me to sleep at night. Has me waking up in a cold sweat almost. Like I'd rather the Saints get blown out than lose a game like this. And then getting cooked. Getting cooked is what this game also reminds me of. I've heard other people mention this as well. The fumble by Mark Ingram was probably the biggest missed opportunity, because this game was so similar to the playoff game in 2020, where the Saints defense was just so dominant. They were pretty much owning the game. And okay, so the Buccaneers, they tie the game 3-3, but the Saints, they were about to take the momentum back. And I feel if the Saints would have took the lead back 10-7, I think that may have been the nail in the coffin, because it looked like the Saints were really starting to wear down the Buccaneers defense. Brady was still really frustrated, even though the Buccaneers got their 3 points finally. I think if the Saints would have got the lead back and got that 7 points, I think the Buccaneers were about ready to pack it in. And then Ingram just coughed it up. And I felt that even when they were getting the run going, I felt that fumble coming. I felt it in my veins. I just knew that, you get that feeling. I knew that fumble was about to come. I actually thought it was going to come from one of the other running backs. I felt that Tony Jones Jr. was going to run it, was going to fumble, or I thought Dwayne Washington was going to do it because, they don't get as many carries. And I honestly put that onus on Dennis Allen. The reason I put that on him is because Jameis Winston had already fumbled twice. He fumbled on the unnecessary roughness, the roughing the passer call. I know it didn't count technically, you won't see that he fumbled on the stat sheet, but then he also fumbled on the play where he should have scrambled for the first down. So Jameis had already fumbled twice. So Dennis Allen should have been telling his players, protect the ball. He should have been harping on them. He should have been put that as a point of emphasis to his players. You guys need to protect the ball in this kind of game because they'd already fumbled it twice. So I put that on Dennis Allen a little bit, that he wasn't telling his players, you need to protect the ball better. And what do? They fumble. They fumble on the 10-yard line. They were going to score there. I have no doubt in my mind that they were going to score there. And just like Jared Cook on the go-ahead score, they coughed it up. And I almost put some onus on myself for this, because last week I said, oh, that fumble by Mark Ingram, it was a throwaway play. It was a hectic play. That was a aberration play because that was such a crazy dump off nuts play. that Mark Ingram was probably discombobulated on that play. That's more of the reason why Mark Ingram fumbled. But now he's done it 2 weeks in a row. I just don't. I don't know what to say about Mark Ingram, and it's crazy too because he was having such a good game too. So it's like you want to still give him touches because he still looks like he's got a lot of juice. But man, if he's putting the ball on the turf, you can't do it, man. And he had like what? He had like 60 yards on 10 carries. That's like 6 yards a carry, man. But you don't want to give a guy the ball that's fumbling it. Oh man, that is just. Mm. But then, of course, shortly after that, the Saints defense was still holding strong, and that was they still kept chugging along even after all that, and then we all know what happened. The brawl came, and that's just one of the craziest things. I can't say it's the craziest thing I've ever seen because that's something Mike Evans has done before, but the way it played out is so crazy because Marshawn Lattimore makes an amazing play on the deep ball down the sideline to make Mike Evans. And Mike Evans and Tom Brady, they just can't handle it. They can't handle not being able to beat a blue chip player like Marshawn Lattimore. They just can't handle how good of a player he is. And of course, I guess when you rewatch it, was it Bruce Arians had something to say to him. Tom Brady had to run down there and had something to say to him. And then Leonard Fournette, that's really the guy who started it all off because Marshawn Lattimore is just trying to wave him off, tell him, get out my face, get out my face. And it's the Leonard Fournette shove that started it all off. And we already know this about Marshawn Lattimore. We've already kind of harped on him that he needs to just walk away. He just needs to walk away, which that's really what he was trying to do. He was really just trying to walk away, but he's a reactionary guy. I'm kind of a reactionary guy. I'm usually not going to start it, but if someone pushes me, I understand. I'm going to push back. It's just kind of a reflex, and that's what he did. Leonard Fournette pushed him, so he pushed him back. And I'm hearing Buccaneers fans and fans that hate the Saints saying he punched him. He didn't punch him. He just pushed him in his face, Matt. And like a raging bull, here comes Mike Evans running from all the way from the sideline at full speed and blindsides our guy in the back. And it's not just that he did that; it's that he could have hurt him. That's such a terrible. What if he would have done that and that would have gave Marshawn Lattimore a season-ending injury or something like that? That's really the thing that I think a lot of people are missing out on. And of course, the most ridiculous thing, I think we got hawked. We got hawked on that. Sean Hockley and his refereeing crew. Somehow, Marshawn Lattimore gets ejected from the game with Mike Evans. I just don't understand how that works. And then shortly after that, with a drive that got extended with 12 men on the field on a special teams drive, and then assisted with some ridiculous calls with unnecessary roughness on Bradley Roby, and then one of the most ridiculous holding calls on a defensive tackle with Shy Tuttle. And we obviously know PJ Williams would have been the guy covering on the touchdown. It's just obviously that's what leads up to that. It's just that's why that touchdown even happened. That touchdown would have never happened if Marshawn Lattimore would have been in the game. And like I said, getting hawked was we got hawked in two ways. We got hawked by Sean Hockley, and then we got hawked with ball hawk next, because then the the turnovers started happening. But this report came out this morning on uh, I guess later in the evening on Monday. It looks at least like the league is doing a little something right, and they were talking about suspending players and fining players, and even talking about Bruce Arians. But at least the only player they're suspending is Mike Evans, but it's for only one game, even though he's a two-time defender for doing this to Mike Evans. And I guess he was suspended the one game in 2017 when he did this to Marshawn Lattimore. But I don't understand that with him being a two-time defender. He should be suspended multiple games. I thought when you're a two-time offender or something, that you should be suspended for more than you were the first time. But at least Marshawn Lattimore is not getting suspended along with him, because that's just he's I don't even think I'm almost not even wanting to not, other than in the score column, I'm not even really respecting this win from the Buccaneers, because it was such a dirty, low life way of getting it. And on top of one of our best players getting thrown out of the game in such a ridiculous way. But like I was saying before, getting back to the suspension of Mike Evans, but then of course, I just don't think, like I said, also was saying before that, uh, I think if Mark Ingram, I just keep circling back around to different points here. I think if Mark Ingram would have scored that touchdown, and I think even before the brawl happened, I think the Buccaneers were about checked out in this game. But I think the fight and the brawl that happened, I think it woke them back up. I think they were just about done, and I think the brawl woke them back up, and then I think it discombobulated the Saints, and I don't think they were able to settle back down because of it. And then, like I was saying, then the ball hawking started happening. Then the turnovers started raining down for the Saints, and it's just turnover after turnover. Jameis Winston threw 3 interceptions, one for a pick six. I, I think it was just him trying to force things. I don't know how much of that was due to his back injury. I think, like I said, I think everyone was just discombobulated. And then the thing with forcing it to Chris Olave, I think that was a little ridiculous how he went to targeted like Chris Olave, like what, like 14, 18 times or something ridiculous like that. Let's see if I don't have the exact number, something ridiculous like that, like 15 times, maybe even 18 times, just kept going deep to Olave. And then towards the end of the game, finally hooked up with Olave, and he ended up fumbling as well. Like, and if they would have scored the touchdown, Olave would have actually stayed on his feet and had a walk-in touchdown, then they'd actually still even been in the game with two, two with a one-score game, 2 minutes and a timeout still. So just it was just a complete snowball after that brawl. Just nothing went their way after that. And I'm sure a lot of people are hating on Jameis Winston after that. I'm sure people are calling him famous Jameis and are jumping off the Jameis Winston bandwagon. And I'm not there yet. I'm still backing him injury. But the thing that has got me a little reserved about him is just the injuries. I'm just injuries overall the last 4 seasons with this team in general, and I'm just sick of it. After one game, this team is just riddled with injuries, And I'm just not just the team in general, but I'm just highlighting the quarterback position. I'm sick of having injuries at the quarterback position for the last 4 years. I would like to have an Iron Man at quarterback, even just a above average quarterback that can be an Iron Man that you can rely on each week at quarterback would really be nice. Like, because the last 4 years you've had Drew Brees, and what that was 2019 he had the thumb injury, and then in 2020 he was pretty much falling apart with the rib injuries, the collapsed lung, the rotator cuff, and the plantar fasciitis. He was basically falling apart. And then 2020 he had Jameis Winston with the blown out knee, and then already after week 2 you got Jameis Winston with a broken back. Like I'm pretty much like that's really what it's not really Jameis Winston's uh, playing like he's played when he was with the Buccaneers, because we don't know. It may just be one game aberration, and because of circumstance with just how this game was so crazy after the brawl. But he's looking a little injury prone after the knee injury last year, and he's already got a back injury now. But I just can't stand having an injury prone quarterback after 4 years in a row. But like they say, I guess the legendary Bill Belichick on to Carolina, I guess. And with that, I think that's all I have for you. And with that, can I get a check, please?